Test. All right, welcome back from the short break. So I hope Forum 1 was insightful and provided you with valuable perspective. So we now move on to Forum 2, titled Bridging the Semiconductor Talent Gap, Strategizing Workforce and Development. So we are honored to be joined by another outstanding lineup of panelists, which are Dr. Hari Narayanan, correct? CEO Penang Skills Development Center, Associate Professor Technologist Dr. Wan Mariam Wan Ahmad Kamil, Director of Industry Network, University Science Malaysia, Mr. Daniel Yap, Regional Education Business Manager, APAC, Greater China and EMEA from Keysight Technologies, with our moderator, Ms. Tan Shimin, Chevening Scholar 2023-2024, University College London, UCL. Please welcome our panelists to the stage.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Okay, please be seated. We will begin shortly. Welcome to Forum 2 of the Semiconductor Hackathon 2025, entitled Bridging the Advanced Industries Talent Gap, Strategizing Workforce Development. So a little bit of background. The National Semiconductor Strategy, NSS, launched in May 2024, sets out Malaysia's blueprint to move beyond its traditional role as a global hub for semiconductor assembly and testing. The vision is to position Malaysia as a high-end player in integrated circuit, IC design, advanced packaging, wafer fabrication, manufacturing equipment, and end-to-end integration. However, there are a few challenges in achieving this vision, including, number one, a shortage of professionals with the specialized skills needed in IC design, wafer fabrication, and advanced packaging. Number two, limited understanding among university students of the technical and soft skills required to excel in high-tech industries such as semiconductor manufacturing. And number three, there's a decline interest in STEM education. In secondary schools across Penang, science stream enrollment in Form 4 and 5 has dropped from 28.9% in 2013 to just 19.5% in 2023. Even more, the share of STEM graduates in Penang's public higher institutions has decreased by 9.5% in the past decade, and these are data from the Penang Institute. Hence, we would like to take this opportunity to discuss with our esteemed speakers. Number one, what is the talent competency gap that we need to address to pave the way for an advanced industries boom in Malaysia? Number two, how could the industry sector and academic institutions collaborate to address the skills and competency gap? And number three, how a collaborative effort between the government, education institutes, and civil society organizations could be formed to promote STEM education and TVET. Joining us today are panelists. Number one, we have Dr. Hari Narayanan, the CEO of Penang Skills Development Center, PSDC, and former Managing Director of Motorola Solutions Penang. Dr. Hari brings over 35 years of leadership across industry and academia. He spent more than 20 years with Motorola Solutions, rising to lead R&D and serve as Managing Director for Penang Operations. He later joined APU, Asia Pacific University of Technology and Innovation, becoming the Vice Chancellor and eventually President driving innovation in higher education. And since 2024, he has served as the CEO of the Penang Skills Development Center, PSDC, strengthening Malaysia's TVET talent ecosystem, especially for the E&E sector. Okay, let's clap for Dr. Hari. Okay, joining us as the second panelist is Associate Professor, Technologist, Dr. Wan Mariam Wan Ahmad Kamil, the Director of Industry Network in University Science of Malaysia, USM. Dr. Mariam is an Associate Professor of Physics at USM and the Director of USM's Industry Network Office, leading collaborations between the university and industry. He earned her Bachelor Science and PhD in Physics from University of Nottingham, UK, and specializes in sustainable semiconductor, laser materials, and nanotechnology for wide bandgap lasers. And I was informed that Dr. Mariam also has some collaboration with Keysight, Mr. Daniel from Keysight. Yeah, so it's a, you will see the real people working behind this collaboration today. Okay, we give Dr. Mariam a warm welcome. And last but not least, joining us as the third panelist is Mr. Daniel Yap, the Regional Education Business Manager, APEC, Greater China and EMEA at Keysight Technologies. Mr. Daniel Yap is the Business Development Manager for Asia Pacific at Keysight Technologies with nearly 2 decades of experience spanning engineering, technical marketing, and business development. He holds a Bachelor in Engineering in E&E from University Technology Malaysia and an MBA from the University of South Australia. Beyond his professional work, Daniel is an avid mountain biker and cyclist, often exploring the orchards and hills of Penang Island. Can we give Mr. Daniel a warm welcome? Okay, and my name is Tan Shimin. I'm a Chimney Scholar from 2023-2024 cohort. I studied in University College of London, and I will be your moderator for this session. Okay, so enough of the introduction. Let's head in straight to the questions. So the first question. What is the most pressing issue in terms of talent competency that needs to be addressed in priority to support the growth of Malaysia's semiconductor and advanced industries? Any take from the panelists? Shall we have Mr. Daniel to start first? Okay.
Hello everyone, good morning. Again, my name is Daniel, I'm from Keysight Technologies. Just to make sure that, how many of you know Keysight, first of all? Right, we are just by the seaside, beautiful views, overlooking Pulau Jerajak. Anyhow, so Keysight is a company that enables a lot of other technology companies. We work maybe 5-10 years ahead of what you are seeing. Today in your mobile phone, you have a 5G. But we already started working on the 6G, other things like quantum. So as a technology company, one of the challenges, key challenges is we are always desperate to look for the right skill on the job, right? What we learn in the university, yes, that's excellent, good. But when you go into the industry, the learning curve is super steep. Sometimes we want you, the new graduates, you have to press on, endure the hardship, don't give up so easily. Don't give up. I think that is, first is a skill part. The other thing that's missing part is your toughness to grind through the challenging environment. Of course, today, maybe life will be easier because you have AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot. That's one part, but we want you to be tough. You know, just like a diamond. Diamond is made from under high heat and high temperature or high pressure, right? You want to be a pepper or you want to be a diamond? You tell me, right?
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Daniel. Okay, Dr. Mariam.
Right, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, still morning. All right, so Mariam from the Industry Network Office in USM. I was going to echo exactly what Mr. Daniel just mentioned just now because of course there is the issue of very specific skills, especially if we are moving towards advanced packaging. IC design is one particular skills as well, but as we move up the value chain to advanced packaging, there's an even more specific skills that requires quite a lot of talents, right? You need more people there than the IC designer. So the issue that we have is not just those kind of skills, but the soft skills just now. Greed is a major issue that we face in the past few years. We've been receiving comments from industry partners. How come your student hari ni marah, esok sudah bagi surat letak jawatan? This is intern tau, internship students. So not even working yet, already they can give a letter of resignation, come back to university. So it's this creates a problem because even if you cannot endure the internship, which is very minor to be considered the amount of tasks given, then it's even worse when you get into the workforce. So the current issue that we have with the current generation, which is you all, please build, grit is something that you can build inside the university. If there are courses that you can join under BHEPA and so on, you know, to build up confidence and to actually, how to say, how you can actually take up criticism and move up, you know? Because the criticism is there to help you. They don't intend to fire you, right? They intend to keep you, but they want to teach you certain things. That's the only reason. It's not that they don't like you. No, that's not correct.
We love you.
Yeah, I just want to make this across before you guys go for internship and so on. These it's not just the technical skills, but these are the other skills that you need to have. Okay, and I think another big challenge is for the industry partners as well, because we've had a lot of industry partners who collaborates for the internship. They even do, so we have an extended internship programs, it's called the MRI 3. So this is where you do your internship plus final year project with the industry partners. This is great, and we receive good, how to say, intake from industry partners. But the problem is, once they finish, they will go overseas. It's not retained in the country. But can you blame them? The pay is lower. So I think there is also an issue of pay related. For professionals, there is no minimum pay that the government puts. Yes, the government puts minimum pay for general public, but professional minimum pay is not there. And because of that, some engineers are suffering. Some, like Keysight, they offer very good salaries, or you know, Intel and so on. But quite a lot of companies, they provide a very low salary. So if they are graduating with 2,500, which is the same as Pak Gad yang jaga taman rumah kita tu, then, no, I'm just saying, and they get free accommodation, you know. So, you know, it's not really, I would say it's not fair if you blame entirely to the talent gap, but there's also the issue of income that the government has to focus on. But to the students, please build your grit when you are in university. The moment you go into the industry, it's already too late. You have to start now. Yeah? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mariam. Good morning. Morning. I'm so pleased to see on a Saturday morning this turnout, and I wasn't, you know, when I came in, I wasn't sure what the audience would be, and talking to the organizers, I'm so pleased that you're here, because the type of stuff that we want to talk about, I think it's so important to you. As my fellow panelists talked about, I think they focused on the soft part of it, and I will do that, and then I'll come back into the competency part. And I totally agree with what Mariam and also Daniel spoke about. And one of the things that when I was way back in industry, and I think Daniel could relate to that too, that you know, when I've done hundreds of interviews of young engineers and young professionals and so forth, and I talk about in terms of what they know technically, good, as long as they meet a certain standard, they understand it. But the next thing that I switch on to is attitude, all right? And in fact, very interestingly, coincidentally, yesterday I was at Sungai Petani talking to primary school kids. I was a grandfather there, oh my God, talking to standard 5 kids, you know what I mean? But I was lucky enough to be able to relate and have the interaction with them. And I talked about basically going back to the word attitude. And I think that I always tell a joke that if you were to give A1, B2, C3, Z26, if you go calculate attitude, it gives you 100%, all right? Not a joke, it's 100%. So that's what typically what we do. And I always look at it, and if you were to, all of you are engineers and technical guys, so do a y-axis is your competency, x-axis your attitude, all right? Y-axis is your competency, x-axis is your attitude. You will see which part of the quadrant you should be, all right? For us at industry, even if you have, I guess, average technical capabilities, all right? As long as you have got the right attitude, they will hire you, because if you don't know, you'll find out how to, you know what I mean? Most successful engineers in industry, or most successful professional industries are not the first class or second class. They are all generally good engineers who have got the right attitude to pick up and learn. When we talked about great, Mariam and Daniel talked about it, it's really fundamentally, do you want to do it or not? So draw that axis and see where you are in that sense. When it comes to Shimen's point about competency, that's part of it. But I was talking to Shimin before the panel discussion, and I said that I quote Simon Sinek's definition of competency. What is competency? Competency really is to do with knowledge plus skill set, right? So you will learn a lot. You will acquire new knowledge. You'll acquire whatever is taught out there, you know. But the more important thing is that, are you able to apply the knowledge in the right way in industry? And this is where, when I look at way back in terms of engineers that we have hired, typically they struggle in most instances. How do I apply the knowledge? So it is very important that connecting the dot, I call it, you know, knowledge plus in terms of how do you apply it. And that is sometimes lacking among fresh graduates. And that is why sometimes when they get interviewed, you know, they interview 20 people, Daniel, maybe they'll identify one or two, all right? It's not the quantity, it's the application of what you learned in the higher learning that is sometimes a challenge. And we can talk about it later in terms of how we can fix that.
Thank you so much to all the panelists. So from the points given just now, we can conclude that one of the main issues that the field is facing is the attitude problem. So there's a need to have more grit, which is you don't give up easily when you enter the field, as well as you enter the internship and so on. And then number two is, as pointed out by Dr. Mariam, is the issue of brain drain, in which the fresh graduates are not being paid enough to stay in Malaysia. So hopefully we will have the right industries, the right companies to address this issue and with some intervention from the government. And lastly is the issue of competency. So competency, as mentioned by Dr. Harvey just now, is knowledge plus skills. So do you think you have the knowledge and the skills as well as the attitude to survive in this industry? So moving on to the second question that we have here. So from your observation, what is the gap between academic training provided by our higher education institutions and the skills and know-how required by the technology company, especially in semiconductor and advanced industries? So who would like to start?
Yeah. Let me just continue on, because I think the question relates to what the first question, and having spent this many years in industry, and then had the luck to work with Mariam in USM for 2 years. They chased me out from USM, No, I'm just joking. I spent some time with academics. The challenge, and I go back to the application stuff and so forth. The many years that I've spent in industry, and I'm telling you that there's so much collaboration happening currently with universities and industry. I think Malaysia should be a good benchmark in terms of how interaction and how collaborations are happening between industries and higher learning institutes and so forth. They're really working very hard to to close the chasm, I call it, in that sense, yeah? So I think that in the old days, in the 90s and year 2000, I would use the word industry would knock at the door of the university. But now universities are knocking at the door of industry, and both are knocking at each other doors, all right? So it is very, very good trend that's happening. So when you look at this, what has happened is that over the years, I think Daniel could relate to that, you know, we work within universities and talk about in terms of curriculum, you know, hey, you know, this is the thing that is going to happen now. I need engineers in these areas, these subject areas, this particular topic, and so forth. So curriculum enhancements have been happening, and in fact, I mean, one of the criticism among universities is that sometimes it takes about 18 to 24 months to come up with a new program. You know, that's an area that I think with MQA and, you know, high learning, they gotta improve on it. Some universities are pretty good. They know innovative ways of including curriculum development as electives and options, and you know, they have some 30% slosh in their capability to do that and so forth. So I think that part of it is happening, and many of the universities are, you know, doing the right thing in terms of identifying the type of areas to cover in their curriculum. That's okay. But still, the table topic discussion, and we are here today, is industry is still commenting, saying, hey, we don't have industry-ready engineers. And I always get deja vu in terms of industry-ready. I mean, I don't know what industry-ready engineers are. So, but they still complain about it. They still comment about it, whether it is a semiconductor, whether it's going to medical devices, whether it's going to precision machining, you know, materials and so forth. And what I think that we need to do better working together is the fact that I was talking to Shimin earlier on too, and something that I felt that we should do better is that it's not just the curriculum is important, you know. I mean, a lot of you are smart kids out here, you know, you're going to be very successful going through the university, getting good grades and so forth. The point is that, again, I come back to the way how you apply the theory and what you've learned. And one thing that, you know, I was blessed with working with the previous VC of USM, Dr. Asma, because last year, beginning of last year, what happened is the Ministry of Education came up with the need to work on a 10-year education blueprint, higher education blueprint, and I was a task force member in that. And one of the things that we were pushing very strongly is the fact that lecturers need to be out there every 3 years or 5 years, increasing the knowledge in terms of what's out there in industry. You know, it should be part of their continuous learning. The reason why we said that is simply because I think getting the enhanced curriculum is good, but how are you teaching it so that, you know, you can understand how it's applied out there in industry? I always talk about, when I don't do a lot of technical lectures nowadays, but I used to do a lot of leadership stuff, but I would talk about principles and theory of leadership for about 20-25% of the time, but the 75% of the time I would talk about my real personal stories of how the leadership principles are impacted and so forth. So my view is that I think one of the chasms we need to close is that how do we get these, you know, academics and professors and so forth to make sure that you go through the theory, but you also spend a bit of time, real case studies, you know, personal stories of how this theory applies to that. And that's an area that I think we need to improve, continue to improve. Or the other thing that universities tend to do is to bring industry veterans, industry experts to provide you know, talks and so forth. But I still feel that that is a discrete event, that is not a continuum. The continuum is that you spend your 3 or 4 years with the academics in university. So they should be sharpening their focus in that area, all right? Sorry, long answer. Sorry, Maria.
If I can echo on that. So this is part of the reason for this extended internship program. So when you have the extended internship, you have the final year project that you do with industry partners. Of course, the academics are part of the team. So this is where they work with real problems happening in the industry. Okay, So how many USM students here can I see? All from engineering ke? Is it? Okay. You tak kira student apa. Okay, Dr. Pung is from Material Engineering School. Okay, so please register for MRI 3. Okay, right? So the program is there. We will help find placement for you. Okay? So when you work on the project that comes with problems from the industry side, okay, so this is when you actually apply what you learn and you apply in that project. So this is the purpose of, so they are trying to kill two birds with one stone. They attach the lecturer there and they also attach the student. So it's two in one. Another thing that I want to highlight is, it's not just, sometimes the issue is students don't get exposed to very, very high-tech related stuff because we don't have the machine in the university. So of course, all this is in the industry side. But even that, there is also still, how to say, a certain amount of allowance for the students to use it, if you understand what I mean. So it's not something easy to solve. Okay, so what we try to do is we try to find anything that we can relate to the problems related to it, and so at least the student gets some initial exposure before they go. So that's the kind of things that we promote in the extended internship program. We also do industry infused curriculum. So this is now running. Our latest is with Micron. So it's about 7 credit units bearing. It's bearing credit units. So it passed the KPT quite fast because it was revamped from another module. So this is how we are moving it faster because there's a lot of bureaucracy to actually come up with a new program. So we maneuvered, we find ways where we can enhance existing programs so that it becomes a very good program. So this is with Micron, it's about 7 credit units. We also have with others. So we have with NI Malaysia, for example, yeah. So there's a particular lab related to it. So they bring in the software and the hardware, and the students will practice that in their lab session. So there's a specific module that they do. So that is NI Malaysia started with USM. This is 2021, I think, or maybe a bit earlier, 2019, or maybe before COVID. And then it spread out to 4 other universities. So we now have UKM, UTM, also utilizing the same NI equipment. So the donation from NI is just the equipment part. The rest is just run by the university. But we don't just run our own. So the purpose of this is, the investment from the industry is, okay, we invest this tool, but can you work with other neighboring universities near you so that they can also have access? So that's what we are doing. The most latest that is coming to the electrical electronic engineering campus is from Tokyo Electron Limited. So this is TEL. So they actually provide the actual tools for advanced. It's actually IC design testing, right? It's post IC design, post validation. So they are parking it at the EE engineering campus. And what the Dean of Engineering is doing is that they are partnering with all the 19 public universities who, whichever they want to come and go through that module, is there. So they provide the access without the tool having to be in the industry and then macam kena minta kebenaran and so on setiap kali pergi. So it's a bit hard, right? So this is already happening. What's left is for you guys to take part and take the advantage of using it. Okay? All right, so I would just like to get it out there that we are doing so much. At the end of the day, it's up to you whether you take this up or not. Okay? Right, thank you.
All right. Well, Keysight in Penang, we have about 3,000 to 4,000 employees. That actually says something that we need engineers quite a lot. Now, to talk about industry ready, we do realize that there is actually a kind of certain gap that Keysight is looking in. So because of that, we actually came out with a program called Keysight Student industry-ready certification program. So this is also a partnership, a collaboration with universities, how we can bring in real industry equipment, work with the universities, allow the students like you all to go through the learning. It's just like, yes, for example, we talk about semiconductor. I'm sure today you'll be wondering why my power adapter, this one is 65 watt, and this is 100 watt. Of course, with 100 watt, you can charge faster. Behind it, what is the IC behind? Likely it's again, gallium nitride. It's also an IC. So we bring in this kind of knowledge that you design the IC using EDA tools, perhaps in this case using an ADS. Then after that, you use a source measurement unit. This is all the equipment developed by Keysight and measure it. Have you ever seen a data sheet before, like a certain component, electronic components? Ever thought that how does those numbers appear? That actually comes from using Keysight tools, one of them. So we actually help to define that. So these are the things that we want to impart through the certification program. When you come out, graduate, at least you have certain confidence. Rather than you just come out and then suddenly just hit to your head, wow, what's going on? So we want to give you some cushion to you to flow in easier into this industry, right? So we have some work together with USM already. So we are very excited. And yeah, this is a program that you can look out in the keysight.com website. We'll put your name up, the university name. You promote to the potential prospect employers. Oh, who knows? You may get a higher chance, command a better salary too. Maybe extra 2,000, I don't know.
Thank you so much, all the panelists, for your responses. So as mentioned by Mr. Daniel, you can look up to keysight.com to look up these programs that can help you to be industry-ready engineer. Okay, and in addition to that, you also can look up PSDC website, in which they take in fresh graduates to upskill them to be ready for the industry. And then, as mentioned by Dr. Mariam, they also have some programs in the university as well as internship with the industries to help to address the gap between the academia as well as the industry. Yeah. So now we move on to the third question. What would be the reform that our higher education system would need to adopt to close the gap? I think it's already, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The higher education has done quite a lot actually within this past few years. Ever since the launch of the National Semiconductor Strategy, they have moved towards this program. So one of it is the ministry have come up with a consortium of E&E. So this is led by USM, but it is also another 19 universities under it. Okay, so we lead the EE consortium, and the reason for that is basically because we are doing a lot of semiconductor related projects in Malaysia. Okay, so when we do this, one of the program is the extended internship, and apart from that, there's a lot of talent building going on, whereby we are getting this industry equipment park. And we are doing some kind of student certification. So our most recent is with Keysight actually. Yeah, so we have a semiconductor certification program. We are, the first cohort is from the School of Physics and School of EE. So we'll see how we can expand this. We are already discussing the expansion actually. So we will involve more schools in the future. So these are the things that's already happening. Part of the thing that the ministry is looking for in 2026, how can they make more impactful industry-academia partnership? They want to look at impactful partnerships. There's no point if we just sign an MOU and then nothing happens, right? Okay, so the impact must go to the students as well as in developing R&D. This is what they want to look at. And part of it is how can investments be imparted in universities instead of because we have a lot of companies coming in they're already coming, but they're building in 2026 around the Batu Kawan area, and they want to do some R&D labs and so on. So we post this back to MIDA and MITI, and we say, if they're going to do an R&D lab, might as well they invest in the university itself. And then the R&D can be a joint between the industry partners, and is also open to researchers in the campus, right? So this is what we propose. So this is something that we are looking into. So I think there will be more interesting stuff in 2026 for the current students lah. So these are things that higher education is doing. How to say? One of the issues is readiness level. Not all universities have the same readiness level. So if you go to UTP, UFM, maybe their readiness is different compared to UITM, compared to, you know, UMP, SA, Kapaka, you know. So it's different. And we also have the TVET line. So now we need to make sure that this TVET and higher TVET is very well connected. We don't want to end it at TVET. And what USM is doing now is part of the upskilling process. We are introducing a way whereby we have an APEL platform, whereby it's called accreditation using experience learning, something like this. So basically, a technician working in that semiconductor company, maybe 15 years, right? He started with just a technician, and he can have a master's through this APEL program. They consider the experience too. So dia tak payah ambil degree. So this is how we are upskilling the current workforce. So this would cater the national semiconductor strategy tadi lah. You want to bring up 60,000 engineers, cannot be fresh grad. Yeah, there has to be fresh grad and the current workforce. I think most of it will come from current workforce lah. You upgrade the current workforce, and then you achieve it. So that's what we are doing lah. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Hari, do you have anything to add on?
I think Mariam spoke about in terms of, as I mentioned earlier on, I think the universities are doing a lot of good stuff, and the Ministry of Education is also being very agile in terms of moving the alignment to the national semiconductor strategy. So, you know, it's always from a talent point of view, it's not enough, because I call it that we are punching above our weight. Do you know what I mean? We're doing more than what we are supposed to be doing. And, you know, industries, and the good thing about Malaysia is that, especially in the northern region, you know, every other day I sit in PSDC, and my neighbor is in West Penang. And every other day we are seeing potential new investors coming in, you know. I mean, the story of Batu Kawan is something should be written. It's like a record, isn't it? And I remember 2016 going through the second bridge, and I'll see Flex, Honda, maybe one other company. But I think that's about 1,900 odd acres. 99.9% is already full within the last, 8-9 years. So I think Malaysia is still considered to be one of the most favorable countries for investments. Yeah, there will continue to be seen a growth, but here we are sitting here to make sure that all of you are ready to go into the job market in that sense. So I think Mariam talked about a lot of the stuff that the government is doing, the universities are doing. We will keep doing, and one additional thing that we are also working with one of the technical universities, you know. They play a significant role. Anybody from Unimap here? Oh, very good. Unimap, oh, fantastic. In fact, at PSDC, we are working with them, and PSDC is just a quick spiel, is that we're made up of about 276 member companies. We are actually a society. We are formed by the industry for the industry, and Keysight and many other companies are members of PSDC. And we are working with Unimap because we are very, very keen on the WBL. Mariam talked about the extended internship. You know, Unimap, for example, is looking at WBL, for example. It's a very, very attractive program where if I'm not mistaken, you spend 2.5 years at Unimap and 1.5 years at the industry working, and you get a BTech degree in that sense in specific areas. In fact, we are getting a collaboration with them to provide, like what Mariam talked about from an APEL perspective, but this is more of a part-time for working professionals to get to a degree and so forth. So a lot of good stuff that's happening. We just need to accelerate in 1 or 2 areas. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
There, yeah, I think it's a good point. I know that, Mariam is representing, public universities. I would dare say that because I spent 4 or 5 years at APU, for example. I know it's in Kuala Lumpur, but it's one of the top private universities, and I've worked with INTI before. And I think the same kind of, the same kind of activities are happening with the private universities too. Yeah, in some instances, if you look at the public universities, they are the largest, quote-unquote, producers of graduates, because like USM, if you look at Unimap, for example, if I'm not mistaken, they're the largest producers of electrical electronic engineers. So industry tend to do that, but they're also working with private universities. That's in specific areas. INTI, I remember when I was in Motorola, INTI was one of the prime private universities that we used to work in the areas of embedded software engineering, and also finance. They are very, very popular in that area. So same tone. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, the answer is yes. For example, in INTI, Sunway, Swinburne Sarawak, Curtin U, these are all private universities at Keysight directly involved in the collaboration. In what area? We're actually looking into the IoT. For example, Sunway U has a full set of IoT learning that's co-developed with Keysight, and we look into the student certification program as well. And these are actually integrated in the curriculum, recognized by the MQA as well, right? So, yeah, IoT is definitely one area of learning today too. In fact, yeah.
Thank you so much to all the panelists for your input. So we can see that the higher institution are definitely working with the industry to close this gap. So it's up to the students, which are all of you, to take up the challenges, to take up what has been installed for you in your university programs. Yeah. So be punctual for your for your internship program, and then do all the tasks given, and you will be well prepared for the industry. Okay. So now we are moving on to the 4th question. What is Malaysia's competency in terms of producing robust talent for high-end industries compared to our ASEAN peers, especially industry competitors such as Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia? What are Malaysians' talent strengths and weaknesses? So, okay.
Okay. So I have today, maybe just for your information, I have more than 200 UNICEF linkages network in this world. Now, for Malaysia, as Malaysians here, with this kind of momentum, with this kind of progress today, what we are having, we are pretty good. Just don't give up, right? But I have to tell you, Vietnam is one country has a lot of young people, 90 million of them. They are so hungry. Seriously. They will work very hard, really, to do anything. Why? Because one of the reasons is to get out of poverty, right? So I think Malaysia is, like Dr. Hari did mention, Dr. Mariam as well, we have a very nice platform today. Our government, our institutions are putting in a lot of investment. So grab this opportunity, finish here, stay here. Of course, sometimes the grass is always greener, but, well, we want you to stay here and grow Malaysia, develop our country, our nation. right? Again, other countries like Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, yeah, as not mentioning Singapore, but they have a different way of uniqueness as well, right? But for Malaysia, if we want to move into advanced semiconductor packaging, you know, these are all set stuff. Just look in Penang, Bayan Lepas area, and go over to Batu Kawan. Look at number of semiconductor companies coming up. It's crazy, and I tell you why. The future is very bright. As we are all using AI today, these are all driven by IC. In fact, the EV car, actually it's all electronics. It's a big IoT machine, right? So we are the right place. Anything you want to add, Dr.
I think just to re-emphasize what Daniel talked about, I always felt that, you know, the Malaysian government is doing the right thing. You know, some instances, you know, we got to improve certain areas. The NSS, for example, that is backed up by 25 billion ringgit of commitment by the government. And I'll give you one particular example of it that is really happening in Penang, right? How many of you have heard of the Penang Silicon Design 5 kilometer plus? I think Daniel, you refer because he's a collaborative partner for us. All right, so a quick summary, all right? National Semiconductor Strategy, earlier on, I think Ngu talked about it in terms of what the focus is. There are 5 areas of focus. Really, to see how we can bring, I think it's about, I forgot, 500 billion over the next 5 years in terms of investment into Malaysia, creating 10 1B companies or 100, I have many companies, local companies, yeah, to become the regional hub for semiconductor in Asia, for example, yeah, to make sure that we are able to produce 60,000 talents to support this strategy, and also government will put a 25B to support it. And one of the things that we are enjoying in Penang, for example, is in terms of the Penang Silicon Design 5 kilometer plus initiative. It's a 5-year initiative to do 3 things. One is that they're creating the IC Design Eco Park, especially if you go down Batu Maung area, before the second bridge on the right-hand side, there are a couple of new buildings that are coming up. And they are, so the Penang state government is putting free buildings for those companies that want to go into the IC design sector, all right? The Eco Park. The second is in terms of how do we make sure that talents are there? And therefore, we created the Penang Chip Design Academy, the PCDA, that is residing in PSDC. A lot of acronyms. If you go to PSDC, you look at Penang Chip Design Academy, it's there, all right? The whole concept of that is to make sure that we are continuing to upskill, reskill. Mariam talked about it. People that are unemployed, for example, people may have left manufacturing in semiconductor OSAT. They would love to get into in terms of IC design. We will provide the right upskilling interventions and so forth. We started that in August, and we will be ending up at about 170 engineers that have been trained. Our employability goal is, at this point, reality is about 97%. So we are getting good at it. We do both train and place and train. For those that have been already graduated, they do not seem to have a opportunity, for example, and you wish to take your journey in IC design, you could approach us, and we will try to see how we can train you up and place you. The other is the place and train. For example, a company may have hired a fresh graduate from whichever university, and they wish to bring that person up to a certain level, then they would go through this training. These trainings are a month, 2 months. In fact, for those train in place, you get allowance. So Malaysian government is paying you to get trained, you know what I mean, and provide you. And these are very expensive. I think earlier on, Ngu talked about how much does it cost to bring up an IC? 20, 30, 40 million USD. So these are very expensive training. We are providing those training for all of you in that sense. So there are, as I said, there are many things that are happening out there. And by the way, Mariam, these engineers are paid really well. You know, really well. And by the way, and I was just sitting just now with one of the materials engineering students out there for USM. Yeah. The good news is that we just don't rely on electronics engineers for this activity. All right. We have been very successful even in bringing up computer science graduates into IC design, materials engineering, biomedical engineering, aerospace engineering, as long as you have some basic understanding of electronics, because IC design is quite wide. It's not just, physical design, Daniel. It's got the design, I think Subha talked about it earlier on. There's design verification, there's virtual prototyping, there's post-validation testing that may or may not require the total electronics discipline and so forth. So a lot of good news for those that wish to move into this fantastic opportunity in terms of semiconductor, right?
Just a few to add on. The reason why we need PSDC is because our university alone tak cukup. We have the EDA tools, but it's limited people who can use. So when we have partners like this, it helps to upskill. And I'm not too worried about Vietnam, because from what we receive from MIDA, is that investment that went to Vietnam are coming back to Malaysia, because they may have the people, but again, the skills is better Penang than Vietnam. So I'm not too worried about that one.
While Mariam was talking about it, and I just realized. So I did some studies on Vietnam, not Indonesia, Korea. I think in 2023, I spent some time looking at all the talent development, because I was working with Malaysian Semiconductor Industry Association. And I remember that one of the things that we were very, very worried about Vietnam is the fact that they wanted to make sure that there are 50,000 semiconductor engineers in 5 years or something like that. Anyway, next week, there's a delegation with Vietnam coming to PSDC to benchmark us. Okay. Okay, we'll learn from each other, that's fine. But what their focus is, by 2050, they want 50,000 engineers, 15,000 IC design, and 35,000 semiconductor, all right? So they have a goal of 2050. Like what Daniel talked about, regardless of it, for me, over the years, as I spent time in industry and so forth, yes, it's good to look at the competition, but don't react to the competition. We must have a robust strategy that will take us 2 steps ahead. The reason why we are 2 steps ahead is simply because in Malaysia, we have been 50-odd years of presence of semiconductor industry. So we need to build on the platform to get stronger and stronger. So I need all of your support, okay?
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Hari, Dr. Mariam, and Mr. Daniel. So please support Dr. Hari's initiative, as well as Dr. Mariam and Mr. Daniel, because as we have heard from them, PSDC has a lot of good upskilling programs. Even if you're not in the semiconductor field yet, you can still get upskilling programs from PSDC and join the workforce. Okay, so we are going to have a Q&A session. So if you have any questions, can you please raise your hand and we will pass you the mic. Okay.
All right, a very good afternoon. A good afternoon to everyone. My name is Tajul. I'm from INTI College, Penang. My questions, actually, I would like to, there's 3 actually. Okay, the first one, let's back to the first questions that you have asked, moderator, yeah? Because we have looked at industry and also higher education system. Yes, we have done a lot. Actually, I'm a lecturer from School of Engineering in INTI. All right, so we are trying our best to make sure that the curriculum meet the requirement of the industry, and industry highlight that a lot of things that what we are teaching right now is not relevant to industry anymore. But I think that maybe this one, maybe you can give a comment as well, right? Why don't industry look at the body who are control our curriculum? Yeah, I do agree with Dr. Mariam just now. There is a bureaucracy there. All right, because like, yes, industry have a lot of collaboration with higher education institutions, but right now the body who are control the curriculum is the one that make it hard for us. All right? Okay. The second questions that I would like to bring up, okay, because like, yeah, the most important that, yeah, Dr. Mariam have brings up a lot of ideas, a lot of like opportunity to our student, a lot of programs that we have done, etc., etc. However, the next concern is student workload. Student, I hear you, okay? Because you have to cover all the learning outcome, you have to do the assignments, you have to do a lot of things. If someone have passionate to do it, yeah, they're going to do these modules. They will take it, the modules. Yeah, we try to impart all the modules. Like for example, in INTI we have Huawei Academy, and we try to impart in our curriculum. But again, the body are controlling us, so it is hard for us. And I also try to use the modules and include in our curriculum, because we know that there is a professional certifications is needed right now. So workload, we are talking about workload. Workload not as the lecturers, but the workload as the students, okay? And then the last questions here, okay, is talking about like, yeah, workload, sorry, and about yeah, I forgot already, another last question. Workload of the students, collaborations, oh yeah, last but not the least, how we want to motivate the student actually. Okay, because like, yeah, we have a platform, we have a lot of a platform, but to be honest that motivating the student is another things that we need to concern as well. Kejap sekejap, ada lagi satu question.
Maybe we answer this first. And
Okay.
Okay. So, yeah, because of the student workload, this is why we embed it inside the curriculum, to make sure that you don't go beyond the student workload too, right? For example, it's part of your lab, you know, we embedded it as part of the curriculum. Now, which government body are you more concerned? Is it the MQA or the Board of Engineers? EAC, Board of Engineers. Okay. This is not just INTI, USM pun struggle dengan mereka ni. So, this is the reason why we came up with this extended internship that includes final year project. Because we are not allowed to extend the internship more than 3 months for engineers by the board. Yeah, we're not allowed. It's because of how our semester is scheduled. Okay, for example, UTP, they managed to revise the semesters. They make it like you have a very short breaks, so the semesters they can open up to become, instead of 2 semesters, become 3 and so on. So they have that leeway with the, but we cannot simply suka hati buat semester, because this is by the Ministry of Higher Education. Okay. So because of that, we had to comply, okay, cannot go beyond 3 months. So what we did was, okay, tak apa, maybe we cannot do that, but we can have the final year project to be an industry-based final year project. So what the School of Engineering in USM did was, they restructured the curriculum so that they leave the last 6 months to be only final year project. When they did that, those students can actually do the project in the industry. They're not even in the university. Okay, that is allowed by the board. The project, nak buat project industry is allowed. But internship has to happen before the final year project. So this is the 3rd year, because they want them to come back, right? So what we did was, kita tie these two up. So dia pergi industry internship dulu at that particular industry, and they have a introduction on the project that they want to do and so on. They get to know about what the facility they will be using. So by the time they start the FYP, it's a full-on project. Macam tu lah. So student workload tak jadi issue lah when it is a proper curriculum and it has passed the MQA and KPT. This is why you need those. And the easiest route for that is take an existing curriculum, revamp. If you want to create a new one, bye-bye lah. I mean, it will take 2 years. By the time you dah ni, it's already obsolete. Because the industry is moving very fast. And the curriculum is
slow to catch up, right? So we need something that can tackle it faster, something like that. So student certification is part of the curriculum juga. So you kill two birds in one stone lah. Macam tu so you don't do it separately. Okay.
I think you can see that certain universities are being creative to kind of overcome the challenges. Yeah, I think you brought up the challenges. In fact, I remember going through the 2-year problem in that sense. At the same time, it just got me thinking that I remember speaking to the MQA chairperson, not the MQA, but they also talked about the fact that if you were to draw the entire cycle time in terms of the time that you submit to the time, they talked about the universities are in the application, there's iterations and so forth. But not that I will go fix a problem, but I'll take that and we will revisit that with some industry muscles, if you want to call it, and talk to the MQA folks in terms of this, because 2 years is too long to come up with a program in that sense. Yeah, even we can come up with a 30 million, 40 million USD chip in 2 years, and we can't come up with a program. Cannot lah. All right, cannot. All right. But one thing, just to add on to what you talked about, and I was thinking about it on the student workload. I think you are set by in terms of the number of credits and all the good stuff. But one thing that you will come across from a university perspective is that one day Keysight will come to you, one day Intel will come to you, one day Vitrox will come to you, one day Emerson will come to you, one day XYZ, ABC, and you need to know when to say no and make sure you try not to absorb, because you're going to saturate the students, if you're not careful. So it's a choice that you got to make in that sense, right?
And then one more question was how to motivate the students.
How to motivate the students? What is the problem with the students? Why do you ask the question? Hold on.
Okay, testing. All right. So yeah, motivate, because like PCDA have conduct like a course, okay, upskilling and reskilling, and then we do have also this morning the forum number 1 talking about my chips, okay. So yeah, first of all we have create this what we call as a platform for them to upskill and reskill. To be honest, like for me lah, okay, when we want to motivate them, we talk about like, of course it's money. Alright, of course it's money. Why I say that it's money? Yes, you give allowance to the students. You give allowance to them, but the amount of the allowance is not tally with about our, how should I say, commitment and etc. etc. Okay, I put aside that one. They were very hard for it. But I'm thinking like a model, like for example, housemanship for medical student. Yeah, they have studied for 5 years. For 2 years, they do housemanship, but they gain money as like a drill engineer. All right? Because like, why not this platform that we have, okay, to motivate them, but they gain money as per engineer itself. And how industry can play a role, like for example, they are willing to invest to the students, okay, invest to the students where, okay, I appoint you as a junior engineer, but I send you to do this training. And they get paid with amount of the engineer. That is my thought lah.
Are you referring to students are in the universities? Are you referring to graduates? Sorry.
Both.
All right. I think that if you look at, and I may not directly answer you, I have a slightly different opinion when it comes to money. Let's not go there. I guess that if I look at internships and so forth, I think that a lot of the companies have really raised in terms of what their salaries and so forth. And I used to work 8 years ago in one of the MNCs. I remember the baseline in terms of what we pay for interns, and now I think they've increased it significantly over the past few years. So if interns are paying minimum salary, minimum wage, I guess. Is that what's happening, Daniel? Yeah. Not yet. I think it's, yeah, 1,005. I think some companies are already paying 1,700, 1,800 in terms of interns and so forth. I don't know what your experiences are, but this is what I hear in that sense. You know, one of the things as far as motivation, and I have a slightly different opinion because, yes, it's important on the money and so forth, but it's very, very important that have you chosen a profession that you are passionate about? Is that what you want to do? You know, I mean, talking to Shimin is very interesting. You know, she's actually a science graduate and a science degree. Upper six, if you want to call it. But then she chose a slightly different field because although she was very good at it, but her passion was something else. So you all have to make sure that you choose a field of career that you are very keen on. For example, I'm an engineer, and when I was 9, 10 years old, I said, I want to become an engineer. My parents told me, go, you know, Indian, you know, go do medicine. I said, no, I want to do my engineering, you know. Seriously, you know, either engineer or lawyer, doctor or lawyer, Indians. You know, no, I chose to become an engineer because that's my passion, yeah. So it is very, very important from a motivation perspective, inner motivation, you really identify what is it that you want to be, first thing first. And make sure that we have the right grit and the attitude to be successful. And then the money will come. Hopefully you don't chase money, no. Money should chase you. Got it? Money should chase you. If you are chasing money, you'll be very tired very soon. Okay?
Agree. Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be something that university pun kena fikir lah motivation ni. You know, it's something from within the students. You know, it's from you. Kalau you really interested in it, that's it. Okay, all right.
I guess that's why in the first question, I told you all to press on, don't give up. There's no motivation, it's very hard. You have to press on. Once you go over there, you look back, I'm glad that I hang on. Seriously, right?
Okay, so we will wrap up this session. So to conclude, for the question about motivation, it boils down to the intrinsic motivation in which why are you doing this, and then your passion for it. Can you hang on to it until like maybe 10 years later? And then as well as the extrinsic motivation in terms of pay, that will come after your passion shows and you have the right attitude to take it up. The money will come after you when you have the right passion, right skill, and right attitude. I think that's all for today's session. We will dismiss for your lunch break. Thank you so much.
Test. Okay, hello. Thank you, Dr. Hari. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to our distinguished panelists too, for Forum 2, for sharing your insights and expertise with us today. Now we would like